Hello everyone, welcome to TOEFL Preparation course. In this meeting, you're going to learn sentences with inverted subject and verb, skills 18 and 19. Let's start with skill 18, invert the subject and verb with conditionals. Now let's take a closer look. We have examples of conditional sentence. Conditional sentence means kalimat pengandaian. Let's see number 1. If I had studied hard, the results would have been better. Jika saya belajar lebih keras, pasti hasilnya akan lebih baik. So here we have conditional sentence using had in the if clause. Next, example number 2. I would eat you if I were a monster. Aku akan memakanmu jika aku adalah seorang monster. So let's take a look at the if clause. Coba lihat pada klausa yang diawali dengan penghubung if. If I were a monster. Here we have if clause using were. Last one. If you should arrive before 6, just give me a call. Jika kamu harus datang sebelum jam 6, panggil saja aku. So here we have the if clause. If you should arrive before 6. And you have conditional sentence with should. Now, let's take a look at the inversions. You still remember inversions, ya? Inversion means inverting the position from subject and verb into verb subject. Jadi inversi adalah membalik susunannya ya, dari subjek diikuti verb menjadi verb diikuti oleh subjek. Nah, let's take a look at number 1. We have conditional sentence using had ya in the if clause. Kita fokus pada if clause-nya saja. If I had studied hard. Ada kata if, kemudian subjek I, dan ada verb had. So if you have conditional sentence like this, you can also make the inversion. Kita juga bisa buat versi inversinya. Caranya adalah kita hilangkan if, lalu kita inversi subjek dan verbnya. Jadi bukan I had, tapi menjadi had I. So the inversions will be, had I studied hard, the result would have been better. Next, number 2. I would eat you if I were a monster. And here the inversion is, I would eat you were I a monster. Again, just focus on the if clause. Kita fokus pada if clause-nya saja. If clause-nya adalah, if I were a monster. Ada subjek I diikuti verb were. Maka untuk inversinya, kita hilangkan if, kemudian kita balik susunan subjek dan verbnya menjadi were I a monster. Last one, if you should arrive before 6, just give me a call. So here, focus on the if clause. Delete the if and then invert the subject and verb. If-nya kita hapus, lalu subjek dan verbnya kita balik. So the inversion will be, should you arrive before 6, just give me a call. So, inversion can occur in conditional sentence using had, were, and should. Jadi inversi bisa terjadi pada conditional sentence yang menggunakan had, were, atau should pada bagian if clause-nya. If we omit if, subject and verb in the if clause are inverted. Nah, bagaimana cara kita membuat inversinya? Kita hapuskan if-nya, baru kita balik susunan subject dan verbnya. So here, the normal pattern is if, subject and verb, and then in the inversion we have verb and subject. No more if. Tidak ada lagi if, karena if-nya sudah dihapus, lalu verb di depan baru diikuti subject. Now let's take a look at the pattern for inversions with conditional sentence. So, conditional sentence can be made into inversion when the if clause is using had, should, and were. Remember, if the if clause uses had, should, and were. For example, if she were an athlete, she would join Olympiad. This is the conditional sentence. For the inversion, we can omit or delete if and then invert subject and verb. So the inversion will be, were she an athlete, she would join Olympiad. So in the if clause, the pattern will be verb followed by subject. Nah, inversion with conditionals sounds rather formal in English, ya. Jadi kalimat inversi pada conditional sentence merupakan kalimat yang sangat formal dalam bahasa Inggris. Jadi mungkin kadang kalian tidak mendengar pattern seperti itu karena memang sangat-sangat formal. Untuk casual conversation atau informal conversation, you just use the normal conditional sentence. Kita pakai bentuk conditional sentence yang normal. Tapi biasanya di TOEFL kita akan menemui soal dengan inversions with conditional sentence. So that's why you have to learn the pattern. Jadi diingat-ingat patternnya ya. Now let's see the exercise. I want you to make inversions on the conditional sentences below. Number 1, if I had gone to Brazil, I would have visited your house. Remember, you make inversion on the if clause. Kita buat inversinya pada if clause-nya. Hilangkan if, kemudian ubah susunan subject dan verb-nya. Number 2, I would make delicious food for you if I were a chef. Fokus pada if clause-nya saja. Number 3, if you should make a recommendation letter, please contact me. Sama ya, fokus pada if clause-nya saja. Okay, so are you ready to make the answer for number 1? Number 1 is very easy ya. Omit if and then change the position of subject and verb. So the inversion will be, yes, had I gone to Brazil, I would have visited your house. And then for number 2, fokus pada if clause-nya ya. If clause-nya adalah if I were a chef. If-nya dihilangkan, kemudian I dan were dibalik. So the inversion will be, I would make delicious food for you were I a chef. And number 3, delete if and then change the position of you and should. So the inversion is, should you make a recommendation letter, please contact me. Easy ya? Let's move on to skill 19, invert the subject and verb with comparisons. Okay, I believe you still remember about comparative sentence ya. Comparative means perbandingan ya. You usually use more followed by adjective or adjective plus er. For example, happy becomes happier, and then beautiful becomes more beautiful. Nah, it turns out that you can also make inversion using comparative forms. Jadi kita bisa membuat kalimat inversi dengan menggunakan bentuk komparatif. Now let's take a look at examples using comparative with P plus adjective. Ronnie is taller than his brother. Next, Ronnie is taller than his brother is. Last one, Ronnie is taller than is his brother. So here we have 3 sentences and all of these 3 are correct. Ketiga kalimat ini benar ya. Kita bisa bilang Ronnie is taller than his brother, or Ronnie is taller than his brother is, or Ronnie is taller than is his brother. Nah, kalimat yang pertama dan kedua adalah bentuk komparatif yang biasa. Sedangkan kalimat yang terakhir kita bisa lihat di sini, Ronnie is taller than is his brother. Ini adalah bentuk kalimat inversi dengan menggunakan comparative. Nah, let's take a look again ya. Di sini kita punya bentuk be diikuti oleh adjektif ya. Ada be is, kemudian adjektif tall. Bentuk komparatifnya ada pada er ya. Jadi kita bisa bilang Ronnie is taller than, dibanding siapa? Dibandingkan saudara laki-lakinya. So here we change the position of subject and verb. Kita lihat di kalimat kedua ada than his brother is. Nah, kita pakai to be ya. Kita copy paste to be-nya karena subjeknya adalah his brother, berarti to be-nya adalah is. Nah, di kalimat ketiga his brother berada di belakang, sedangkan yang ada di depan adalah verb-nya. So this is the inversion. Inilah kalimat inversi ya. Kita ubah posisi verb dan subjeknya. Next, comparative with verb followed by noun. Komparatif dengan menggunakan kata kerja diikuti oleh kata benda. For example, I spend more hours in the library than Tony. Jadi ada subjek I, kemudian ada verb spend ya. Nah, setelah kata spend, di belakangnya ada komparatif dengan kata benda. I spend more hours. Saya menghabiskan lebih banyak jam atau lebih banyak waktu ya. Nah, di sini komparatifnya adalah more, kemudian ada kata benda hours. Next, sentence number 2. I spend more hours in the library than Tony does. Ini lebih lengkap ya dibandingkan yang kalimat pertama. Kita lihat di sini kata kerjanya adalah spend kan? Karena kita menggunakan kata kerja, maka di bentuk yang kedua setelah kata then kita ganti menggunakan do, does, dan did, tergantung pada konteks kalimat dan tergantung pada subjeknya. Kalau subjeknya tunggal kita pakai does, kalau subjeknya jamak kita pakainya do, sedangkan kalau konteksnya lampau kita pakainya did. That's why here we have sentence I spend more hours in the library than Tony does. Konteksnya present, spend, kemudian subjek yang kedua adalah Tony. Karena Tony singular, kita pakainya does. Nah, that's a normal comparative sentence. What if we want to make the inversion? Bagaimana kalau kita mau membuat inversinya? Bisa, tinggal kita ubah susunan subjek dan verbnya. Kita ubah subjek dan verb yang kedua yang ada di belakang setelah kata then ya. So that's why here we have I spend more hours in the library than does Tony. So, inversion can occur also in comparative sentence. It is optional and rather a formal structure. Seperti pada inversi pada conditional tadi ya. Inversi pada conditional sentence terdengar sangat formal dan biasanya memang dipakai untuk academic writing atau formal English. Sama juga dengan inversion pada comparative sentence. Optional. Kenapa optional? Maksudnya bisa pakai itu, bisa juga tidak. Karena ketiga kalimat yang di sini semuanya benar ya. And it is rather a formal structure, merupakan bentuk yang sangat formal. So now, let's see the pattern of inverted subject and verbs with comparison. We start with comparison with to be followed by adjective, ya. So here, take a look at the example. I was better than other performers were. Here, it is the normal comparative sentence. Look at the pattern. Subject I, verb was, and then comparative better than, followed by the second subject, other performers, and second verb were. Normal ya. Setelah bentuk komparatif, ada subjek diikuti verb. Now what about the inversion? I was better than were other performers. Kalimat yang pertama, I was, tidak ada masalah. Ada subjek I diikuti verb was. Kemudian bentuk komparatif better than. Nah, setelah better than atau comparative form, kita punya inversion dengan mengubah verb dan subjeknya ya. Verb ada di depan, subjek di belakang. So that's why the sentence is I was better than were other performers. Next, inverted subjects and verbs with comparison, and here we focus on comparison with verb ya. Kita fokus pada komparatif dengan menggunakan kata kerja. I have more money than John does. Subject I and then verb have. The comparative form is more money than, and then the next subject we have John, the next verb does. It's normal comparative. What about the inversion? Just change the position of the subject and verb after the comparative. So the inversion will be I have more money than does John. Setelah bentuk komparatif more money than, kita ubah posisi subjek verbnya menjadi verb subject, then does John. So remember, if you have comparative sentence with be, yang menggunakan be is am, are, was, were, just copy paste in the inversion. Pada bagian inversinya tinggal di copy paste, tinggal sesuaikan dengan subjeknya ya. But if you have sentence with verb, ketika comparative sentence-nya menggunakan verb atau kata kerja, so you have to change the second clause using do, does, or did. Pada bentuk inversinya kita ganti menjadi do, does, atau did. Depends on the context and the subject. Now let's see the exercise. Make inversions on the comparative sentences below. We have number 1. The movie we saw last night was better than any other movies. Okay, let's take a look at the comparative form. Kita lihat komparatifnya ya. Komparatifnya adalah better than. And then let's take a look. Do you have comparative using be or verb? Yes, it is using be. Ada bentuk be was ya. Maka dari itu untuk inversinya tinggal copy paste sesuaikan dengan subjeknya. Subjeknya di sini adalah any other movies. Berarti to be-nya kira-kira apa? Apakah was atau were? Yes, were. Sekarang nomor 2. Mr. Dono gave us more detailed information than Mr. Dono gave us more detailed explanation than other teachers. Here you have comparative using verb. Kita punya komparatif dengan menggunakan verb ya. Ada kata gave. Jadi pada bentuk inversinya tinggal diganti menjadi do, does, atau did. Lihat konteks kalimatnya. Ada kata gave. Gave adalah verb 2 ya. Berarti konteksnya adalah lampau. Berarti mana yang kalian pakai pada inversinya? Apakah do, does, atau did? Yes. Kalian harus pakai did ya. Last one, number 3. The vegetables at the market this morning were fresher than those at the market yesterday. Kita cari verbnya, apakah pakai to be atau verb? Yes, pakai to be ya. To be-nya adalah were. Maka bagian inversinya juga harus menggunakan to be. Tinggal dilihat subjeknya apa. Nah, setelah kata then di sini ada kata those, mengacu pada vegetables ya. Those apakah singular atau plural? Plural, berarti yang kalian pakai was atau were? Yes, were. So let's see the answer for number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, the movie we saw last night was better than were any other movies. Verb dulu yaitu were, baru subjeknya any other movies. Number 2, Mr. Dono gave us more detailed explanation than did other teachers. Untuk inversinya ada did other teachers. Number 3, the vegetables at the market this morning were fresher than were those at the market yesterday. Well guys, I think that's all for today. We have learned about inversion in comparative and conditional sentence. That's all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.